I am in the midst of royalty right now. I mean, that's the way I feel about it, because I can't remember really not knowing the music of First Call. And you guys have just been such an inspiration to, not to me, but like bands like For Him, Point of Grace, Avalon, New Song. Gosh, I could go through so many of the vocal groups that came up in the late 80s, early 90s, and we can all trace our lineage back to First Call. And I'm excited. Number one, that I could get all three of you together.
It took you a while.
Yeah, it did. We've been talking about this how much? Like 3 months or something like that?
Longer, probably.
Yeah. So I'm just thrilled to have Mel and Marty and Bonnie, First Call on the 1 Degree of Andy podcast. How are you guys doing?
Doing well.
So happy to be with you. Yes. I mean, it's really, honestly, it's really happy to be, we're Zooming this. We can tell the people. And just to see my buddies, on the screen is making my heart very happy.
I know. We haven't seen each other in person in a long time.
Really?
A couple of years, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, Bonnie and I have seen each other, but we haven't seen you, Marty.
Right.
Because Marty, where do you live?
DC.
Oh, really? How long have you lived in DC?
25 years.
Okay, so when was the last time you guys did a concert together?
Oh, that's a good question. Was it the one in Alabama?
Was it after the DVD taping of the?
It might have been We Will Stand.
That's what I'm thinking it was.
Oh, yeah. I think that.
Yeah.
I think it was when we did We Will Stand.
That was January.
That was the one We Will Stand concert tour.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Kind of.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, the story is that we did the big We Will Stand video. I mean, you guys were on it, Andy. And then afterwards, there was sort of a spin-off tour with First Call, Wayne Watson, Russ.
That's right. That was after the
and
okay.
And one more that I'm forgetting his name.
The blonde guy. The tall blonde guy.
Clay Cross?
Yeah.
Clay Cross? Yes.
Yeah, it was Clay, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Clay Cross.
Clay Cross.
And we did one concert, and then we never did anymore.
One in Oklahoma somewhere or something, yeah.
Oh man, I missed that. I think it's crazy how it's really difficult to keep tours going with classic artists. I mean,
it is.
There's people are spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars per ticket to go see the Eagles and Journey.
That's
and
right.
all these legendary bands from the 70s and 80s. But where's the audience that, somebody's going to figure it out at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to figure out how to do it. We need to make that happen.
Agreed.
That happened, Andy.
Well, I'm not going to be. I can make the suggestion, but there are people way smarter than me and a lot more to risk than I would be willing to risk at this point. I think.
Well, I've always heard that our generation is always going to love its music.
Mm-hmm.
That it's not like, things just fade away and nobody's interested anymore. But our generation is passionate about music.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we all believe that our era of music was the best, don't we?
Yes,
it's true.
I guess so.
And I think it's
pretty true. Yeah.
Yeah. Fight me over it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because I will win. Yeah. That's the thing is that I held on I felt like a really long time, not doing what my parents did to me, just going, I don't understand you kids and your music. And I feel like I've only started that over the last couple of years, just going, I don't know. I don't know if you guys know what you're talking about musically, but I digress. Listen, I cut my teeth on Marty, on your band Fireworks. I just one of the first albums that I bought. And then, I got into Truth, and we can talk about our Truth connection, Mel, here in just a minute, but I got into Truth in 1987, and already I was so familiar with your debut Christmas album that was just like a standard for guys like me that wanted to know how to be a better vocalist and how vocalists, that you guys were, I don't want to say anybody was the Christian version of but I always looked at you guys as the Christian version of Manhattan Transfer. That was one of my favorite bands in my teen years. And then to hear you guys do it so effortlessly and just as beautifully and just as complex and interesting as they did and any other, big time vocal groups did back in the day. I was a fan from the very beginning. Can we just talk about how you guys got together? I mean, I know the story, but and I think if anybody knows the music industry, the term first call tells the story of who you are. But can we just rewind and go back to the beginning and tell everybody how you met?
Sure.
Well, I usually tell this story.
I was going to say,
Okay.
Mel, go for it.
I mean, this usually is sort of, we won't have a lot of these, but I usually tell this one. We were all three studio singers and were just in our beginning stages of doing that. We'd all toured on the road with various people. You mentioned Fireworks that Marty had done, and I had come off the road with Truth, and Bonnie had done dates with, I know, Amy Grant and who else? Russ.
Russ was out with Russ.
Yeah. And so we were all starting families and kind of found ourselves in the studio. And you know this, Andy, but everyone really isn't cut out for the studio. And there are people, it's a high pressure gig.
Yeah.
To walk in, here's your chart, sing it, nail it, have the emotion, be in tune, and then leave,
Yeah.
and so
and then switch parts. Now you sing his part, you sing her part. Yeah.
Exactly. So but all three of us, we were just kind of starting our own solo versions of getting in the studio, and we were hired by I think it was a Pete Carlson album, was it?
Keith Thomas.
Keith Thomas, I guess, hired us.
Keith Carlson album. Yeah, Keith was produced.
Yeah, for the first time. And so basically just knew all three of us individually and said, okay, I want Bonnie to sing soprano and Mel on alto and Marty on tenor. And so we sang together, and there really was an immediate, click, blend.
You just kind of knew, huh? You just kind of knew that oh man, this all sounds pretty good.
It felt great. It was great. But you walk away from it.
It was a surprise. We really didn't know.
Yeah, I was very surprised.
What it was like, because we all have very different voices.
Very.
It's not like second chapter of Acts where you've got
blood harmony. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Exactly. And there are those times in the studio when you get, three singers that are pulled together and it doesn't click as well. Yeah, you make it work, but it's not that magic. And so next thing you know, we're hired for something else, and then hired for something else. And we began to sort of recognize that maybe we had something we could offer to producers as a package, and say, you want a soprano, alto, and tenor that sound good together, and we all read, and we have a sound that sort of is developing, hire us. And so we put together a demo, and oh my goodness, the demo is just classic in itself. But it had, we wrote an a cappella beginning and an a cappella ending and an a cappella middle. And then we put some clips of various projects we'd sung on, and then we put some solo things as well, so you could hear each of us solo wise, and had jingles, right? And had this 3-minute or so cassette.
Does somebody still have that somewhere?
Mel needs to get that to you. I have a digital file of it too. Yeah.
Yes, we do. Well, we should send it to you because you'd love.
Yes, please. Oh, I'd love to hear that. Absolutely.
So we put that together, and we thought, well, let's go take it around to our various connections. And again, we had 3 different groups of people that, some of them overlapped, but Bonnie had people that I had never worked for, and, vice versa, and that kind of thing. Yeah. So we kind of shopped it around to people, and honestly, Andy, just the Lord, it was a God idea, and it just took off pretty much immediately. And you mentioned first call as the studio term, and it is. and which is a little presumptuous of us to say,
Yeah.
we're
Not if you can back it up, right?
Yeah, exactly. But the sort of the underlying message that we had was that our first calling was Christ, is Christ.
That's good.
And so as we were going to be doing country things and jingles and things that were not Christian music, we really wanted that. We wanted to be identified as people that are walking as our first calling with Christ. And so really God just took it and exploded it. And we decided at the very beginning, it was like, put your hand out, one hand on top of the other, saying no touring, right? Yep. No touring.
Famous last words.
No, no recording a project ourselves, right?
Yeah.
No, and we all agreed to that. And then I'll let somebody else pick it up to where it led then to what happened with Evening in December.
Bonnie.
You want me to, Marty? Okay. Well, I mean, I would echo too what
You're
Marty
still
said.
so polite after all these years. I love it.
Marty, ultimate gentleman always.
Well, when For Him gets together, it's just like the gloves
free
come
for
off.
all.
Oh, it's a free for all. It's.
I've been on the bus with you guys. I remember. I love being with you guys on the road. The Young Messiah tour.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah.
We must. Yeah, Neil Joseph asked us to if we were interested in recording an a cappella Christmas project, and with other artists doing a lot of guest spots on it, but we would basically sing all the tracks for them. And David Maddox was the arranger. We had never met David. Mm-hmm. And I remember going into Neil's office to talk through song choices. And David is so brilliant. Have you worked with David? Have you guys worked with him?
Wow. I have the worst memory of anybody
you would know
in Christian music. Yeah. I asked the dumbest questions on this thing, just going, I should know the answer to this, but I would be really shocked if David wasn't involved somewhere in our career.
Somewhere. Yeah. I mean, he was very much the arranger for, like, he would take us and just do anything he wanted with us and play with us like we were a keyboard. But he arranges everything just like in the moment in his mind. Like Neil would say a song title to him and he'd sit there for a second and go, okay, got it. Like he just arranged it.
Wow.
So he sang bass on those projects, but we went in the studio and had the most amazing experience recording Evening in December. And then what we told Neil, we don't want to be a recording artist, so just put our names on the back of the album.
Yeah.
All is. And then after that, because it was so different when it came out, there was nothing quite like it in the Christian market. I think, a lot of people still message us about Evening in December and how much they love it. But then we started getting record offers after that to do a straight up pop, or whatever Christian record. So that kind of started us into looking at being an artist group. And then God just kind of kept taking us through the journey. We all the things we said we wouldn't do.
Yeah. I love how Melody's raising her hand right now.
Go, Mel.
Well, and I just wanted to interject because I'm very proud of this fact that we did those Evening in December Volume 1 and Volume 2 with zero tuning. Manipulated. I mean, and I'm so proud of that, honestly.
Yeah,
because
you should
it's
be.
art. It's art.
It is.
I listen to it every year, and my own heart is just, I go back to remembering how we did it and certain things about certain songs, and of course, I'm sure you guys are the same. I hear pitchy things here and there that I'm like, oh, dang, But overall, it is. I'm just so proud of the work that we did on it.
Yeah, but that's what makes it real. Yeah, that's what makes it real. I miss that in modern music today. It's like I don't hear the real vocalist. There's so much editing and so much covering of that vocal, making it perfect. I'm like, I don't even know who this person is. And I mean, look, we're going to pat ourselves on the back here. There was no tuning back then.
That's
the only tuning was sing it again.
That's right.
Sing it again until you got it right. And now, did you guys do, this is a little nerd question to ask, but were you guys always together around a mic, or did you record separately?
Marty, why don't you talk for a minute?
Well, we did both, actually.
Yeah.
We experimented with it because originally it was hard to get an engineer and to record us like we were a feature group. In other words, they would record it as though we were background and treat the sound as one thing.
Yeah, like one vocal.
Instead of as individuals. So we really fought for that over the years, to record us in such a way that didn't put us in the background slot. And it was just because that's what had been done. And like you said, Mel, it hadn't been done before. I mean, I'm sure somebody did, but not in our circle. You know, it hadn't been done like that. I wanted to add a little anecdote too, that I think it was when we did volume 2. We were in the studio, the same building, in different studios with Take 6.
That's right.
Oh, wow.
For their first record.
That's right.
So that's just a little history, an interesting history thing.
Wow.
And so we listened to each other's stuff and shared, and
that's right.
Eventually they arranged and sang on, our records.
That's really cool. Let's go back to those Christmas albums, talking about albums that really have staying power. You make a great Christmas record, it lives forever. Where sometimes your main, your down the middle pop stuff, can sound dated, or, it has a, it's kind of an in the moment type album. But these Christmas albums, my goodness, I'm always just, there's a part of me, I don't live in a lot of regret, but one of the regrets I do have is For Him Only Made One Christmas album. But on the positive side, it's that one Christmas record. Like you said, you have so many people say this is a part of our Christmas every year. It's Christmas tree decorating music for us. And if you can make a really great, wonderful Christmas record, it'll stick around forever. And I'll be putting An Evening in December on for sure. When we get back from our Thanksgiving trip. Yeah.
Unless they stop manufacturing it.
Well, but everything lives on digitally now. Yeah.
Yeah, it can. Certainly can.
Yeah, Marty, there's a thing called streaming. So you can.
Marty lives in a different place.
I love it, though. I love it. Okay, well, let's get back to the actual formation of First Call being an actual artist in contemporary Christian music. How did that start, Mel?
Mel.
Well, I wanted to tell this one story about that. We had really fought being an artist, and the plan of going on the road and doing anything like that. We had young families, and we were very content to just be in Nashville. And I think a pinnacle moment for us, you guys know what I'm going to tell?
Yes.
Okay. So Dick and I were asked to do a Minister of Music conference that was in Nashville, and it was a luncheon, and Dick and I were going to be the music and share some of our songs. We were writing a lot during those years. And so Bonnie and Marty and I, during this time, we're doing in session world, there is a 10 o'clock session, a 2 o'clock session, and a 6 o'clock session. And we were doing 10s, 2s, and 6s. Monday through Friday. I'm not exaggerating, very often. And so Dick and I had this invitation to sing at this luncheon. And I said, well, we've got a 10 that morning, but it's some jingles, and I bet we can get out a little bit early. And so yes, I can do it. And so Bonnie and Marty, we're going to need to eat lunch that day.
Right.
Don't mess up the schedule there, Mel.
Exactly. Well, so Bonnie and Marty were going to need to eat lunch too. So it was like, why don't you guys come with us? And I had just written Undivided. And about 3 days before, Bonnie and Marty and I had demoed Undivided in a studio. And so they didn't really know it.
To get somebody else to cut it. Yeah.
Yeah. And because it was cut for the first time. This is a little known trivia. David Clydesdale had commissioned writing a song. He wanted to use 3 people. And so his wife, Celeste, actually cut Undivided first with Scott Douglas from Whiteheart and Jesse Dixon.
Wow.
I don't remember this.
Wow. What a
Wow.
You learn something new.
combination.
So all that to say, we needed a demo of the song. And so Bonnie and Marty and I had done the demo of the song, and Dick and I are asked to do this lunch. So they're going to be with us anyway. And I said, what if we just sing Undivided? Would you guys just come up and sing Undivided as part of the lunch? And it'll be fun because we can say, yeah, Dick and I are songwriters, and here's one of our latest songs. And Bonnie and Marty are here. Come on up. And, and
I remember going into a practice room somewhere.
Yes.
To learn it.
Yes.
And we were still on a break.
We were I remember piling into a little car. Was it your car, Marty?
Yeah.
And we were
I think it was ours.
Racing down to get there before you had to go on, trying to remember the song. Like,
incredible.
Rehearsing in the car, and then
and if people don't remember this song, here's the thing. Undivided in so many different ways was a landmark song in Christian music. Not only was it a big hit, but it was the first song that Roger Breland gave me to sing when I came into Truth in 1987. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. I sat with Mike Eldred.
That.
Yeah, I sat with Mike Eldred, who I think recorded it.
Yeah.
Right on the Truth album, and that was the first song that I sat down with Mike, and he was like, "I'm going to help you through this song." And I remember singing it several months later, and you guys, I don't know if all you guys are there. Mel, you probably were because it was a Truth reunion, but I remember singing that song and just being like, "This is a surreal moment for me."
Oh,
but for so many people, moment. Yeah. So, but let's go back. Let's go back to the formation of who.
Okay. So let me just finish the story. So we rushed to the lunch. We're there. They've got we've all got the words written on a piece of paper, and I explained it that way. We don't really know this, but we're going to do our best. We're going to sing it for you, whatever. So we sang it, and something happened. Spiritually in that moment. And we had never performed together at this point because everything we had done had been in the studio. We'd never been in front of people together until that moment. And here we are. And there was something that just happened that locked, and we felt God's pleasure is the best way I can even say it.
That.
And
love that.
And so we got in the car afterwards, and because we were all so
overwhelmed,
strong, and we're not going on the road, nobody mentioned it, and it was kind of awkward actually. But nobody wanted to talk about what had happened, and it wasn't for a couple weeks. And honestly, I don't know which of us ever even brought it up, but one of us in a break somewhere said, something happened when we sang together at that lunch. And the other 2 jumped in and said, oh my goodness, yes, we got to talk about this.
Yeah.
So
I like to call that the aha moment. Everybody has one of those. Everybody that has a career in music has an aha moment, whether it's I think I'm good at this, or I think I'm supposed to do this for a living, or now that right, I can't back out of this now. That's incredible. Right. I love that you all felt that at the same time. That's just like you were saying, Mel. It was confirmation from God that He spoke to all of you at the same time that this is what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, it's a Holy Spirit moment.
Yeah, and then so what happened then? Did someone offer you a deal? Did you was it pretty immediate?
Yep.
That's Sandy was next. Somebody tell about Sandy.
Oh, no, we had recorded Undivided, the project, before we went on the road with Sandy.
Yeah, but we kind of recorded it because we were going on the road.
That's right. True. That's right.
We must have already agreed to do the tour.
Yeah.
We did. We were asked. Somebody else tell it. You guys know.
Marty.
Well, you and Sandy were kind of like First Call and Sandy Patty. I mean, you were known to be together for a long time. It's like you didn't get one without the other there for several
Well,
years,
we just
right?
sang on her records.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not really. Yeah, we
didn't
just
really-
sang.
I mean, we were hired specifically together.
Uh-huh.
But we also sang in choral versions, and on all those, Greg backgrounds,
Yeah.
choral backgrounds and all that stuff. But no, we didn't. In fact, I remember it being a complete surprise. I don't know if she had told you and Dick earlier, Mel, but when she asked us to come on the road with her and be her backup group, and have a solo spot, I mean, an artist spot, I was really surprised. I just didn't imagine it. And so we figured it out and negotiated it and all that stuff. And in fact, David Maddox was even supposed to go with us.
He was?
Be the quartet that did.
Oh, interesting.
I don't remember.
Quartet that did Evening in December. Yeah. And he backed out because of a health problem.
I didn't remember that, Marty. Did you, Mel?
True.
I did, yeah, because
Why
originally
am I forgetting everything? Okay.
Sandy had come to Dick. She had been doing some dates with the Imperials, and Dick was with the Imperials at the time. And so she was fronting the Imperials with just her tracks. She had We Shall Behold Him, but she had never done anything with any live musicians. And so she talked to Dick and said, I want to do a live tour, and asked him to be her musical director and keyboard player. And originally she threw out the idea of 2 keyboard players and 4 singers. And Dick said, I think you can do it with 1 keyboard player. And what if we ask First Call? And honestly, it was a big decision for all of us, because it was not, you would think, oh, go on the road with Sandy Patty. Of course, you would think that. But again, we were really firm in our decision to be home, and this didn't fit. And we really had to process it to say, God, is this what you're calling us to do? Because we've all felt a unity in this path that you have opened doors so widely for. Now, are we really going to go on the road and take our families and all the things?
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Were you guys were married and had families at this time?
I want to tell you what the bus was like, just for a moment.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, please.
Okay. Mel was pregnant with her first daughter, Whitney, if I'm correct.
Yes.
Had not had Whitney yet when we were asked to go. She was going to have the baby sometime right before this tour with Sandy. Marty
2 weeks before.
2 weeks before. I had a 2-year-old. Marty had Peter, who was 4?
10 months.
10 months.
Peter was 10 months. Ben was 4?
3.
Yes.
3.
Oh, 3. Okay.
So we had to pack up all those little bitty bitties on a crappy bus. It was a bad bus.
Yeah.
Things didn't work. They fell off. I mean, and it was not glamorous. And then every day we were in these huge arenas.
Yeah.
With some running water, sometimes not, only a hotel room twice a week. It was rough. It was rough traveling. And our bus had all these babies crying, and, like middle of the night, we're all up trying to figure out what to do. Infants and Mel.
I can't imagine. I just can't imagine.
3 months old, 3 weeks old. Mel, how old was Whitney?
No, she was 2 weeks old when we went to rehearsal camp, and then a month old when we actually started.
Goodness.
There was, talk about one of the things I was thinking about before we did this today was just the fact that the 3 of us, we truly were and are a family. We have, and you understand that, Andy. You become brothers.
Oh yeah.
With who you're with, but we've seen each other in the best of times and the hardest of times. And that season, in fact, our bus, we had a CB. It was back in the days of the CB. Oh, yeah. Some of your listeners will have to look that up to see even what a CB is. But our call sign was Mother Goose.
Oh, that's right.
Because we were filled with kids, and our bus, the bays were filled with playpens and
Oh my
strollers
goodness.
and all the things.
Oh,
But
I
Wow.
remember going to
Yeah.
Walmart one day and buying all these, those
Shelves.
wire
Shelves.
shelves and everything that are covered with, some sort of plastic. And we just installed, just rows and rows of those little shelves to put all the, the baby's breakfast things in, and, toys and, everything.
It was
And
a
this-
nightmare.
It was
And
wild.
this wasn't just like a 3-week tour. I mean, this was like 150 shows probably.
Well, it was 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off.
Okay,
Yes.
that's
And
good.
during
For
the
a
2
year,
weeks off,
a year and a half or so.
yeah, during the 2 weeks off, we were in the studio.
We're in the studio working his first call.
And
just
while we
doing-
were on the road, we were booking the
Right.
sessions for
Wow.
the next 2 weeks.
Wow. And then are you regretting at that point saying, we said we would never tour?
I actually, 3 weeks into this tour, I will confess, I hit a wall. I said, I hate this. I can't do it. And I was ready to leave first call. And Marty got right in my face. Snap out of it. Get it together. He really did have like a big brother kind of come to Jesus talk with me because I was so miserable. And we went off and on the road with her for about a year and a half. And it was amazing because it was this huge platform for her biggest year, I think, ever, maybe.
Yeah, it
And
was
so
all
we were
arena.
able to, we were able
Wow.
to sing at the Carson show twice. We were sang on the Grammys with her. You couldn't have had a better, artist to travel with for exposure and all that. But the traveling was just horrible. I mean, the experience was, for me, one of the worst on the road. We had screaming babies all night. I mean, we didn't get any
Wow.
sleep. I was trying to potty train my 2-year-old. Whenever the bus, how the bus, if it kind of keeps moving, you can sleep. The bus driver at first would turn the bus off. All the mothers would, because all the babies would wake up.
Yeah.
But it was just very hard to figure out what the Lord was asking of us, for me at that point.
Yeah.
And
I get
for us
that.
to figure out, do we just stay home and do our studio work like we talked about? Or is this what God wants us to do? So we kind of kept doing both.
Yeah.
For a long time, we did all the studio work at home and then on the road as well. And the Lord very patiently, graciously, patiently guided us through every step into embracing the artistry, really, of what First Call could do as a ministry.
So let's talk about that switch.
The spiritual responsibility of it.
Responsibility of it.
Because you don't take that lightly if the Lord really does give you a spiritual platform.
Yeah.
You just can't take it lightly.
Yeah.
Mel, do you remember when a baby would cry in the bunks? We had our kids in the bunks with us.
Yeah, with
My wife was
guardrails up
along
everywhere.
too.
Uh-huh.
Do you remember that, Mel?
Oh, of course. Yes. And I had been, this was our first baby, and our pediatrician his philosophy was, in the middle of the night, if she has eaten and she's been changed and she cries, you need to let her cry. And I'm on this bus going, I can't let her cry. I can't. I mean, so I'm having to modify that and go, am I being a good mother here? But I can't just let her, I mean, so there were all kinds of issues we dealt with.
You'd hear a baby cry, and you'd see all
the mothers'
heads pop out from the
Yeah.
bunks,
Yeah.
and to listen to see who it was.
Wow. And do your kids have memories of this? Did they travel with you long enough to remember it? Yeah. What do they have good memories? Do they look back on
loved
that?
it. My son especially loved it. They just jumped from bunk to bunk when they got older.
Yeah.
A big playpen.
Uh-huh.
But my daughter at 2.5 assumed that everybody lived on a bus.
Right.
Yeah.
So I remember taking her to a gathering somewhere at a publishing house or something, and she's asking all the grown-ups, "What color is your bus?"
Oh, that's funny.
Everybody lived on a bus. What's your bus look like?
That's
He
great.
thinks we all live on a bus.
Yeah, our kids did that. We would bring our kids out every once in a while, and they always wanted those top bunks.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
And I was like, I'm just scared to death. You guys are going to fall out. We take a sharp turn somewhere, but that's what they loved. They
We
loved
put
the late
those
night.
baby gates
Yes.
on, across the front of the bunks.
Okay. Yeah, we didn't do
Baby
that. So
on everybody.
yeah, we weren't as good of parents as you guys were. That's
Oh yeah,
our wives.
and to try to, once a baby had fallen asleep in somebody's arms, to try to fit them in the little slit above the baby gate and the top of the bunk, and
Yeah.
I hadn't thought of that in a while.
put them to bed without them waking up.
It's just a whole different life that people don't understand. There's so many facets to it. So many people just think that's the best life you can live is being on tour and being on the road. And
Right.
and there is, I mean, yeah, there's a glory to it. You know, you're at the top of your game, but just everything that goes with it,
Yeah.
people don't understand just how it wears you down, especially if you're away from your family, or you know, it's the same thing night after night after night after night. And Marty, you were talking about you have to connect with the spiritual reason, the why. Why am I doing this? Not just because I can, but because God, you're calling me to this, right? I would question that every 3 or 4 months. Just God, are you still in this? Like, do you
Yeah.
really
Right.
want me to leave my family and go do this? Is there a higher purpose in this than me just staying active in the music industry? I've got to know that there's a payoff on the other end for my family
Right. We
and
did
for
that.
me as a person. Yeah.
We did exactly the same thing. It's like periodically we would ask the question over again and say, was this just coincidence? Did all this happen because you made it happen? Or were we just in the right place at the right time and knew enough people to have the connections? Because things happen that way too. But so we really had to be convinced and sought the Lord on that a lot.
Yeah, well, I'm sure. Let's talk about now becoming your own artist. Like, at what point was that where you guys could go out on your own? You weren't somebody's backup group. Like, what record was that? What's, the singles are hitting the radio now. You're becoming known on Christian radio and to Christian music fans as the premier group in vocal group in Christian music. When was that turn for you guys?
I remember, I could be wrong, but I remember it happening very quickly after Undivided was a single, being the three of us being invited to come and sing at churches and events. Is that right, you guys?
Do you remember the gig that Steve Brauer booked? I think that was one of the first concerts because he had a contract, and it was so weird to see the contract.
Our name on it.
Yeah. And
I bet. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the Sandy exposure and the first album we did, Undivided album, was nominated for a Grammy. Like everything happened so fast right out of the chute. That's what I remember.
Well, I think too, we did a tour with her for a year and a half, and then she took a little time off because she was recording a project. And we knew at that point that it wasn't the right thing for us to do the next tour. My husband, he stayed, and he did not feel God calling him away. And so he was with her like another 3 years or something like that.
Yeah.
But it was just a real natural timing, because I think the end of the tour, we said our goodbyes, and we just all three knew this was what we needed to do. But there were opportunities that were just opening up very naturally for us. And so I would say it was very natural. It just felt like, okay, this is our next step. And I think at that point, we knew better than to question, are we supposed to be an artist or not? We were past that. We're like, Lord, we just want to do what you've called us to do. We don't want to put, you in a box anymore. And so we began doing more artist dates. And we recorded Something Takes Over, and that gave us lots of great material for concerts. Yeah.
Great record.
And I think too, we continued doing studio work because we did not want to let go of that at that point at all, because that was where we started and all of that. But wouldn't you say, guys, it ended up around then starting to be about half travel and half being in the studio. We did have to say no to some things in order to say yes to some travel.
So can I ask this? Forgive me if I'm prying too much, but I think it's interesting. What was your best income source? Was it touring, or was it going back in the studio and doing jingles and singing on people's projects?
I think it was the studio.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it was the studio would be the best income.
Me too.
Because we were still getting royalties, from jingles.
Wow. And see, that's
that's
right, interesting, Marty. Because you guys had something else that the rest of us didn't have.
That's true.
You had this other career that was, you guys could pretty much do it as long as you wanted. I
don't think anybody's ever asked us that. That's really interesting to think about. I don't think I've ever really thanked God for the fact that we had both situations that we could look at,
Yeah, because then you could go, well, I can take or leave the artist thing, and not everybody has that option. If you don't make it as an artist, you got to rethink your entire career. What am I going to do now? I mean, Mel, you were in Truth, and that was, I know that you had a great career coming out of Truth, you and Dick as songwriters, but that's the question we all asked in Truth was, what am I going to do when I get out of here? If I don't go on to do something else in Nashville as an artist or a songwriter or a studio musician, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I think that's really fascinating that you guys could take or leave maybe the artist career because what was paying the bills, but even before that was your studio work.
We didn't take it for granted. We were looked upon by some of the other community of singers in Nashville as kind of being spoiled and having it all, and there was some resentment there.
Interesting.
But we never took it for granted and just sort of said, oh yeah, we'll take that session and we'll do this. It was a serious commitment on both ends.
Yeah.
So we just dove in and did it. And if you want to blame somebody, blame the people that asked us to sing.
Well, yeah, if you're great, I'm never going to apologize for being really good at what I do and people want to hire me. Right. So, do it as long as you can until you can't do it anymore.
But that's always the way in any business or anything, is that there are going to be people that wish they had what you had, even just the opportunity, to do what you can do. And if they don't, some people don't handle it in a godly way, and certainly not.
It was awkward. It could be very awkward in the studio to get off the road, go into a session, or like having just been on the Grammys or something, like pretty crazy. And then you could feel, and was it Greg? Really great supportive producers, but that would like say, okay, first call your mic, sing it. I want everybody to hear what you're doing.
Yes.
Put us in a horrible position. Thanks a lot. Everybody's already kind of, not happy.
They're already rolling their eyes, but now they're even more. Yeah.
I also remember Marty. Marty had been in Fireworks, Andy.
Right.
And, I never knew Marty in Fireworks. I didn't know anything about Christian music, nothing at all, until I was on the road with Amy. So it all is still kind of new to me now, even like who is what, where. Yeah. But Marty was in Fireworks, and he had quite a lot of wisdom coming out of that with what he wanted to do or not do as a father and a husband. And Mel and I remember really listening to what Marty was saying, do we want to do this, or is this what we should do? And navigating all of that was kind of crazy. It was always a gift.
Yeah.
Always.
Exactly.
Yeah. And when you stop looking at it as a gift, I remember at this point in my career, when I realized it was a have to and not a get to, it changed some things for me, and I'm like, I have to get on a plane, or I have to get on a bus and go do these shows, or a tour book is showing up on my front porch in a FedEx envelope with my life planned out for the next 6 months. And and the moment in my mind and my heart it became a have to, I started to plan my exit, because I'm just like, artistry is something I should get to do and have fun doing. Not that I wasn't having fun and not being fulfilled, but there was just that little turn of, I want to get to do this again. I want to get back to that place where this is a joy to just think about leaving my family and going. And that again, it's always a struggle. So I want to lead into this. So Mel, you stepped away for a season, and I want to know why that happened and what, how you found your replacement.
Yeah. Well, on my side, the reason that it happened really was the Lord leading me and my husband. Dick was on the road with Sandy still, and First Call. I mean, we were on the road a lot. We had just recorded our God is Good album, which is one of my favorites, and we were touring that with Amy for a summer tour. We were fronting her some of her dates, and Dick was on the road with Sandy, and he would sometimes fly out to meet me and ride the bus with us for a couple of days, and we had a nanny, and our girls were 2 and 3 years old, and all of this, and just the Lord began to just put in my heart. And honestly, Andy, I mean, I was fighting this so much because First Call was so precious to me that to walk away, I could not even imagine doing it. But God was putting on his heart and my heart that it was just time to come home and to prioritize our family and our marriage. And we had this phrase between Dick and I, let's meet on Thursday and do laundry. Because that's about what it felt like. We'll meet on Thursday, we'll do laundry. And so we took a huge step of faith, walking away from Sandy and First Call and just coming home. Of course, the timing we had, our house was on the market, and we bought another house, or we put money down on another house, and our house didn't sell for a long time. And we're like, oh my goodness, what are we doing? But we really just knew it was time to step away. And I'll just give you a quick ending. I never thought we would ever sing together again. And so it was a grief. It was a loss to walk away. And Bonnie and Marty were understanding and kind, and we ended the best way we possibly could. We were friends. There was no dirt or anything. They were,
no fist fights.
No fist fights.
Not that you want to talk about.
Yeah, very, very supportive. But the goodness of God, the redemption of what he's able to do. I had no idea that later on. I mean, because we've recorded in the last 10 years. Last 10 years, we've recorded an EP, and we did an a cappella project. We can talk about that later, but never saw that coming when I walked away. So I just thought, I'm leaving something I loved so much, but it was obedience.
How did you guys take that? When she came out with that news?
It was hard. I mean, it's like, you understand being in a group is somewhat like being in a marriage. There's a lot of compromise, and there's a lot of conversation about what people need in their lives and what you will or won't do. And so it was tough, and when I think about, go ahead, Marty.
No, you go ahead.
I was just thinking today, Mel, how difficult that must have been for you. I don't know why I was thinking about it, but to ever come and see us sing or do something. I know you came to see us to be really supportive once and thought, maybe I shouldn't have gone that quickly to see them. But,
yeah, it was during GMA week. Yeah. I had left in January, and GMA week was in April. And I thought, I'll be okay to do this. And I came with my husband and a friend, and we sat up in the balcony, and I just cried.
Wow.
And I was shaking, crying. And I was like, I can't even stay. So I think I heard a song. You sounded great, but
you were trying to be like you. You're trying to be supportive, but what a hard thing. And
right. Who was the other singer at that point?
Maribeth.
It was Maribeth.
Yeah, it was Maribeth. But interestingly, Maribeth was my sister's college roommate.
Oh, wow.
Is that crazy?
That's crazy.
So yeah, but you guys take it from here then.
Well, then how did you decide to keep going forward? I mean, was there a, you know, what conversation was that like saying, okay, Mel's stepping away. We want to keep going with this?
I remember, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Marty, but we were very clear between the two of us that we were committed to the ministry of First Call, and we're going to look for somebody else. You can't replace Mel.
Right.
Maribeth's a very different vocalist. She's a different writer, but she had a blend with us that was really interesting. It wasn't like the blend we had with Mel, but it was close and it was different enough. And she was a strong enough vocalist that we made her a full member, full third member, just like the three of us had been. We had been doing some sessions with her, and we really kind of just dovetailed into working with Maribeth. But it was hard for us to adjust too. It was strange.
Yeah,
but
it was freaky. It was, it was kind of freak out because what we had. I hope you can tell by what we've already said, but it was so powerful, deeply ingrained in us.
You thought alike,
and it was established as an entity, and so it wasn't just, I mean, if any of us had decided to leave, it would have been the same thing. It would have felt the same way because it was. Yeah, but it's true what you said, Bonnie, is that we never really questioned it because by that time, which was 5 years in,
5 projects in, 5 years in,
and we accepted the fact that God was using this as a ministry. And so once you, like we've said already, once you cross that bridge, then it's not about us.
Yeah.
It's about trying to keep that ministry going, and it's not just about the money. It's it's trying to take that seriously, and so anyway, so we went on to cover the concerts that we already had booked with another studio singer.
Yeah,
until we landed on Maribeth. And then we, had another whole, career with
5
her,
years with her,
doing a lot of international travel and a number of videos, which we hadn't had the chance to do with Mel because they didn't really exist.
They didn't exist yet. Yeah, that part of the industry wasn't there yet. Well, I remember the first time I got to really know you guys was on that Young Messiah tour, maybe 92.
Yeah.
Maybe, does that sound about right?
Yes. 93?
92 or 93.
Yeah.
We had done the new Young Messiah.
That was one of my favorite tours ever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was so great.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah. And so, just Marty, just be able to spend time with you and just pick your brain and just being around you as vocalists. I mean, my goodness, just the vocalists on that tour were just all mind blowing. And, we were all just in awe of each other's biggest fans. And then, obviously some things happened, in the next year or so after that. You want to read about it, go look it up. But obviously there was a crossroads for you guys. And so I want to skip ahead to that. Like there's a fracturing at that point of now what do we do as a band? Can you kind of pick it up there and let us know kind of, what that season was like for you?
Sure. Actually,
can I swim back out of that area?
No, for me, it was so devastating that that we had to weigh the ministry that we felt like we had built, against the devastation of what happened. And so we still were determined to keep going. But this time, when Maribeth left the group, Bonnie and I decided that we wanted to continue as a duo, and that we didn't want to replace Maribeth sort of just act like nothing had happened. You know, the original trio was such, like I said, an entity that that just to kind of flippant, I know it wasn't flippant, but just to kind of you know, just replace, you know, Maribeth after all that had happened, just didn't seem authentic to us. It didn't seem right to Bonnie and me. So we just said, okay, we're not going to try to replace her, you know, like we tried to replace Mel, even though Mel's irreplaceable. You know, we tried to find somebody that would fit and mold, you know, help move the group in a different direction, which we did with Maribeth for another 5 years. But Bonnie?
I mean, very well said. You know, and I was just thinking, you know, the sound we have with Mel, so unique and colorful and powerful, and all the colors it has. With Maribeth, we had a different kind of, a little bit more of a pop.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Different sound, but very, very unique to it still, First Call. We didn't want to just pop in another alto every 5 years.
Yeah.
Because both of those entities were very artistically satisfying, you know, with Mel and with Maribeth. And then there was a national scandal that happened. Just if anybody wants to look it up, like Andy said, you can find out. But it wasn't like Maribeth just left. We lost our record deal overnight. It was on the national news everywhere. It involved another high-profile artist. And Marty and I felt like we were sitting in the wake of just everything blew up and fell over on us. I remember Mel calling me right after she heard that weekend and crying over the phone together, you know, just at the grief of it. And we had just signed our biggest contract of our career. And that record company said they didn't know us anymore. Like I saw a side of the Christian music industry that I'd never seen before.
Yeah, me too.
It broke my heart. I assumed everybody was kind of on the same page until that happened. And then I went, wow, I'm being very naive here.
Yeah.
And Warner Alliance signed Marty and I as a duo, which is quite a gift to us.
And which went back to Neil Joseph.
Neil Joseph.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
By then, Neil was president of Warner Alliance, and he was the one who had first asked us to do the first record.
Yeah.
And Evening December was Neil's. So it was interesting because God used Neil to help us through a very healing time. But he wanted to do a Christmas project you may or may not have heard, called Beyond December.
Yes.
With a lot of guest artists on it. And it was several of the artists that were on the project pulled off because they didn't want to be associated with First Call.
Wow.
Scandal, even though it wasn't Marty's and my fault. And interestingly enough, you know, I ended up picking up the phone and calling Amy and Ashley Cleveland, Russ Taff. They all jumped right in and all sang on it. We ended up with just as good of artists, maybe better, on the project. And
Mel was on it. Mel was
and Mel was
oh,
on
wow.
it. And David Mack sang, and David did a lot of the charts for that project as well.
Yeah.
It was a healing, wonderful experience.
Wow.
And then,
I love that.
Yeah, it was wonderful. And I love the Christmas projects we have and why they're there. But then Marty and I just ended up touring, the two of us, and recording with different and doing concerts with churches and their choirs, you know, for Christmas. God has just been very merciful to First Call all the way.
We did a Spanish record.
Couple of them.
Yeah, a couple of them.
Oh my goodness! And we toured in Puerto Rico, and we did concerts in Spanish. I had a cheat sheet.
I'm about to say, did you learn Spanish or did you learn the phonetics
Mel
on the page?
was the only one who knew Spanish.
Yes,
sadly, I'm the one that speaks Spanish, so yeah.
But we learned it phonetically, and you know, asked them to be really tough on us.
And then Discovery House asked us to do an a cappella hymns project. So Mel came back in, and that was like 2005 or 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mel.
Well, and that was just an unbelievable situation. Just you're sitting around at home, all three of us, and Discovery House called and said, we'd love for you to sing, you know, the original First Call on 2 cuts of this multi-artist project about the life of Paul. then would you guys be up for going to Israel and recording videos for those two songs? Yeah, and because
yes.
none of us had ever been. And so all of a sudden we're going to Israel together.
Wow.
That was an amazing opportunity.
Yeah. Wow. And then what was after that? So how did you, was the group back together? Or
we did some dates. We did a few dates off and on, but I think Marty, had you moved to DC at that point?
What was the date?
2005.
Oh yeah, I was already in DC.
And what took you to DC?
A church, a mega church.
Yeah.
And I had known the music guy there, and he called me in Nashville and asked if I knew anybody who might want to get off the road and become a music director, which many, of us have done.
Yeah.
And so, Vicki and I went up there and met with everybody, and, I'd never had a job before.
It's weird. It was weird, wasn't it?
Yes. Even though there were similarities, I have to say, with the life I had been leading, because it was, there were a lot of night work, as you know, and a lot of, it's like the pastor, was kind of like the president of the company, and all the lower people that were more connected to you in the church were kind of like the A&R people.
Yeah, it's interesting.
They were more directly related to what you were doing. And so I just looked at it that way for a while.
Yeah. Oh, the megachurch was a godsend for so many of us, including myself.
Yeah.
When it's time, I think it's time to get off the road. I think I want to get more involved in another side of ministry. And you could go to a megachurch and still have the same performing, and
the resources.
You could perform at a high level. You could be around great players and vocalists, and you could create something there that, wasn't the same as being on the road, but you got to go home every night for dinner.
Exactly.
Or you got to sleep in the same bed every night.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. And then how long were you on staff there? Were you the worship pastor, or were you one of the music staff members?
I was a worship pastor, but I was also head of the music department. And I kind of phased into that and then phased out of it. And but it was 16 years worth.
Oh, wow. Congratulations. Thank you for your service in the ministry. Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, you too.
And Marty is so good at mentoring and teaching vocalists and choirs, and you are too, Mel. I mean, both of you, but I mean, Marty, I just saw you so creatively navigate through so many people's lives at that church to mentor.
Well, I certainly learned that I loved to teach.
Yeah.
And so I just taught free voice lessons to all my singers, and,
what a gift.
Yeah, incredible.
And coaching, like performance coaching and things like that.
Yeah, I'll never forget the feeling that I had, the emotion that I had when someone was able to do what I had coached them and taught them to do. And it was like I felt as much gratification in that as I did singing the big song in front of the big crowd, and getting a standing ovation. I was like, this is addictive. Like, I love pouring into people. I love that you're doing that. Are you still doing that in some way?
In some ways, but I really took a break. I was with another church, was supposed to be for 2 months, an interim thing, and it went for 1.5 years.
Oh, wow.
And it burned me out completely. So I just needed a big break. So I stopped doing any of that stuff. And, that's it.
That's it. And that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Bonnie, what have you been doing? You've been staying busy since then.
I'm so grateful. I'm singing with all kinds of different cover kind of situations. I've been on the road with a pop band orchestral treatment, the music of Michael Jackson, the music of Whitney Houston.
Oh, wow.
is really interesting.
All over the world.
All over the world. It's been wild. And then I sing with a cover band here that's really a bunch of people you probably know, Andy, but great musicians here that all love God and love Christ. But I said, let's put together an Eagles Henley cover band. And I mean, people come from 5-6 states, every few weeks to hear us, which is fun.
Wow.
I've been doing some vocal coaching. I don't share your enthusiasm yet. I'm actually pretty good at it, but it really is exhausting to me. I don't know what.
It is exhausting.
It is exhausting. And I'm glad you said that.
I feel like I just had somebody open a vein and just
yeah,
it out. But it is nice when they take something you give them. I have a really kind of push-pull love-hate relationship with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been recording and I've been, we've all done solo projects, and that I'm working on one right now, which is really an unexpected joy and gift. And just trying to enjoy. I have 2 little grandkids, and Marty has 3.
Oh, congrats.
Mel has
Just in the space
city.
of a year and a half.
you have your own community.
Mel has a city. She has a tribe.
Yeah,
I have
Mel
9.
Has the most.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you up to these days, Mel?
Well, lots of different things too. I went from kind of, Dick and I went into a ministry together for many years, where we did concerts on the road together and in churches, and that was fun because it was the 2 of us, and then that led into, I was on staff at 2 different churches as the worship minister, and both of them in Nashville, and then just kind of out of the blue, about 3 years ago, I was called by an organization called CWA, Concerned Women for America, which is a political group that wants to make sure that biblical foundations are in our law. Oh, wow. And I've really never been this Miss Political person in any way, shape, or form, but a friend of mine worked for them, and she was like, you would be perfect for this role that we have. And I was like, what? And so I talked to them, applied, and next thing you know, I was with them for almost 2 years. And about 3 years ago, Dick and I moved from Nashville, where we had lived for 40 years, to Jackson, Mississippi, where we are right now. And Dick took an opportunity with a church here in Jackson as the head of their orchestra. And he's doing a lot of arranging and conducting and that kind of thing. And we've been here, like I said, almost 3 years, but our house is on the market, and we are heading back to Nashville as soon as our house sells. And I'm now with an organization, ACT International, which is a mission sending organization. actinternational.org will explain it more than I can in 1 minute. But they are based in Nashville, so I work part-time with them. I still do some vocal arranging. I don't know, just, all of us, we just do what the Lord is opening doors for us to do. And just kind of, I love the variety. It always sort of surprises me. I'm like, how did I get here? But just wanting to work at whatever God gives me with all my heart, to please God and not men, Colossians 3. So, yeah.
I love it. Oh, I've got some friends that just moved to Jackson. They're looking for a house. So as soon as we're done here, we'll get your info.
Wow.
Are you kidding me?
No, not kidding.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, my word. Our house is amazing. So yeah, we'll exchange whatever we need to exchange.
That's what they told me. They're looking for something amazing. So
it is.
Yeah, maybe that'll be the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So new music coming from First Call?
People ask me that all the time, you guys. I get that question every week, and I never know how to answer it.
Well, you're not saying no.
Not right now.
Yeah, I mean, it would be wonderful. I'm not sure how it would happen, but that's kind of been the history of First Call anyway.
Yeah.
We never say no. However, also just to say, a couple of years ago, we did an EP of a couple of songs just for fun. We redid Lord of All, which was so much fun to just kind of freshen it up a little bit. And we did a couple of other worship songs. And so I don't know, you just never say never. Who knows what the Lord has.
Right.